manhole cover up and throw it in and put it back there. That's the way he purified the water for years. He said put it in there, so he put it in there. And Lexington drank water that as far as I know, nobody ever gets sick.
Well, I'm going to turn on Mr. John Smith then. And first,
what are you going to do? Ask a series of questions?
I will ask a series of questions. I'm going to let you talk as much as I can, but I will prod from time to time. But I would like to begin with your name so that I get it correctly upon the tape and the day and the location. Lexington. I believe we are ready to go with Edwin Smith in Lexington, Georgia, after we've been interrupted by the end of a tape or a power fluctuation, and he's left the Gulf of Mexico and in Bermuda, I believe.
We were on our way from Norfolk to Bermuda. We had a train from Tampa to Norfolk, caught another ship to Bermuda. Well, before we got to Bermuda, there was a ship, a seaplane tender that was sunk about 30 miles from our position. So, but we went on into Bermuda and offloaded there, and the first job there was loading depth bombs and unloading depth bombs off our plane, going out picking up survivors off the ship that was sunk. So we operated out of Kings Point, Bermuda there. It's a seaplane base. There's PBY squadron till in the next spring in 43. Was transferred back to Norfolk, headquarters squadron there. At Breezy Point, we worked on the seaplanes, the PBM Marlin, and of course PBYs. And while there, they formed a B-24 squadron at East Field. They're starting to use B-24s on the anti-submarine patrol. But I failed to mention before, but my brother Jess and I joined the Navy at the same time, and we were both in the same squadron. And we went over to Comal and requested a transfer to this new squadron that was being formed at East Field, VB 105. So we got transferred there, and we moved down to Cherry Point, North Carolina, to get familiar with the aircraft and operate out of there for about 2 months. And then we went down to Bermuda to the landing field down there, Kenner Field, I believe it was at that time. Operated out of Bermuda on these extended long-range patrols, having convoys. We had to circle around them for, well, our mission usually 12 hours. We'd stay with the convoy for 12 hours and then go back to base, and another aircraft would relieve us when the convoys was in range of patrol. In August of 1943, the first aircraft we got had the 4 50 caliber machine guns in the nose. We brought them back to Norfolk and traded for an updated version that had a nose turret installed instead of the 4 350 calibers. And after we got those, we headed for England. We flew across and loaded up at Langley Field there, which had longer runways in East Point. On about the first detachment of aircraft, three sections, left about 1st of September, 1943. I was in crew number 7, which I left on about 7 days later. Flew from there to Presque Isle, Maine, stayed overnight. From there to Goose Bay, Labrador, and stayed overnight there. From Goose Bay, Labrador to Iceland, stayed overnight there. From there on down to Scotland, Presque Isle, I forget the name of the town. And from there went on down to our operating base in southern England. My brother and his crew had left on the 1st September. And the time we got over there, my crew, he had already been killed. The plane crashed at sea. He was operating with a Royal Air Force Spitfire, called what they call fighter affiliation, to learn how to maneuver in case of attack, we were attacked by the German aircraft. In our patrol area, we operated down in the Bay of Biscay to the coast of Spain and back, and usually lasted 12-hour missions. The Germans would send out fighter aircraft from France to try to intercept us on the way down or back. And fortunately, we had a near miss one time. We had a couple of night fighters that got on to us. One night we was going out, and their way they tried to do the radar wasn't good enough to by, but they was good enough to pick us up. So what they would do, they would flash an amber light and hope to get us to fire back at them so they'd know where we were. Well, we picked them up on our radar, and they came around and started following us, so our pilot told us don't fire unless he told us to. So we sweated them out, and they finally broke off. And we went on our patrol on down towards Spain now. Anyway, we operated there until D-Day, flew 39 missions altogether in the Bay of Biscay and English Channel. After the invasion, we started flying patrols across the Channel from England to France and back. Keep submarines from coming out of Brest and going up the Channel to sink the invasion fleet that was taking place there. My crew, we got relieved on the 8th of August, 1944, and came back to the States. We had 30 days leave, and sent back to Norfolk for further assignment. From there I went up to Chicotee, Virginia for a couple of months, and there down to turret school at Jacksonville, and back to Norfolk, and from there in June or July 1945 went to PB-4 Line Maintenance School at Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Navy had got a new version of the B-24, which had 2 turrets, and one on each side, 2 50 caliber machine guns. Had 2 top turrets of 50 calibers, of course the nose and the tail turret. And we went through that line maintenance school, and that's where I was when the World War II ended there. Stayed on in the Navy till 1947. Of course, I got sent back to the East Coast and married Hannah Argo Smith in March the 13th, 1946. And went from Edenton, North Carolina up to Atlantic City, and then from there to Patuxent River, Maryland, on my test center. And I was there when my enlistment ended in 1947. Came back in civilian life. My brother worked for an insurance company in Charlotte, North Carolina, so he talked me into being an insurance agent. So I moved to Charlotte and tried there for a couple of years. Didn't work out too good. Came back to Georgia and tried farming for 3 years. That didn't work out too good. So my brother-in-law worked for Bell Telephone Company in Athens, and he was at home one day and said, "You know, in 35 years I can retire." So I got thinking, in 14 years I could retire. So I decided to go back in the Navy at that time. In August of 1952, of course the Korean War was going on at that time. And they were building up the Navy again, which before they had, like the time now where everybody wanted everybody out. So I went to Charleston for assignment from there, and I was assigned to the pre-commissioning detail of USS Bennington, CVA 20 in Brooklyn, Navy Yard, New York. We commissioned the ship there, and the next September, we, after shakedown cruise at Guantanamo Bay and operating off the East Coast, we was going to the Mediterranean for 6 months deployment over there. And at that time, there's 2 carriers was kept in the Mediterranean at all times. So we operated with the fleet on the way over. Up around the north of Greenland now, up in the far north, we ran into a hurricane on the way over. Before the hurricane hit, though, we come in a bunch of sea fog. Started rolling in, and all our aircraft was out. And it was really thick. And finally, a submarine spotted a hole in the fog about a couple hundred miles away, so we made full speed to there and got there about dark to take the planes aboard. And of course, the hurricane now, there was so rough there off Iceland, they couldn't set the tables up in the galley. You had to get your tray and put your back against the bulkhead to hold the tray between your feet to keep them sliding away from you. Well, after that was over, and we headed on down to the Mid, and we got a message on the ship there. There was a man with the same rate as I on the call C that we were leaving. He wanted to stay over in the Mid. He wanted to swap duty. So I put in for that. Of course, I wanted to come back to the States. And I got that, and we got to Palermo, Sicily, and got on a Liberty boat and rode over to the Call C and got aboard that and headed back to Norfolk. So all in all, about 6 weeks was at sea before I saw land again. Kind of got my sea legs by then. Stayed on the Call C for about 15 months and was transferred to Brunswick, Georgia at the Blimp Squadron now, ZP2. And we operated out of there until 1957. I requested transfer to shore duty at Pensacola, Florida. I was over there a couple of years and transferred back to attack squadron at Cecil Field at Jacksonville. And we were on and off carriers, the Shangri-La, the FD Roosevelt. Once on the FDR, we had been out for about 10 days operating off the coast here. Came into port and offloaded Saturday morning. Just got home and got a telephone call to recall back to the ship, had to load back aboard. take all that gear back out and put it aboard. They made out like it was just a drill to see how fast we could do it. But the next morning we pulled out for Dominican Republic. Down there for 6 weeks, back and forth, while the Marines, a little engagement there on the beach there. And of course, after finally got back to Cecil Field, and I put in for shore duty at Oceana, Virginia. And was assigned to Attack Squadron 43 up there, which was a training squadron. And after tour duty there, a couple of years, transferred to, on the last year, completing the 20, was transferred to Attack Squadron 55 at Lemoore, California. And was out there a short while before we were ordered aboard the USS Ranger for a Far East cruise. Vietnam was going on pretty heavy then, so we operated, went to Pearl Harbor and was operating out of there. ORI was conducted there, and I had my lung collapsed during this time, and was taken off the ship and put in Tripoli Army Hospital for operation. And after about 6 weeks there, I was transferred, sent back to the squadron aboard ship at Yokosuka, Japan, caught it back over there. And we operated up in the Gulf of Tonkin, from there down to Subic Bay in the Philippines for R&R occasionally. And finally came back to West Coast 1st of September 1966, and I retired 16th of September 1966, completing the 20 years. That's about the size of my Navy career and duty station. I may have left out a few that I don't remember right off.
It's quite a tour of duty.
Well, it's quite an experience there. It was better than farming, I think. Looking at the north end of a southbound mule all day long. My brother Jess and the first cousin, they were in the CCC camp in California. And that's one of the reasons I decided to go in the Navy. They wrote back that they had decided to join the Navy on the West Coast there. So I wrote them back and told them to come on back to the East Coast, and I joined with them. So they came on back and we all joined together.
How often did you see them after that?
Well, Jess and I, my brother we were stationed in the same squadron up until he got killed. From the 16th of April until the 10th of September, 1943. He was in a different air crew than myself. He was in the skipper's air crew, and I was in the XO's air crew in the squadron there. And of course my position on the aircraft was nose turret, lookout, and operator. And I'd swap position with the plane captain. He was a chief aviation machinist mate from Atlanta, Georgia, by the name of Johnson. After about 6 hours, we'd swap positions on our patrol there. I'd ride the top turret, and he'd get the bow turret and operate the bow turret. But that's a lot of water out there to look at for 12 hours at a time. One time we took off about 3 o'clock in the morning, headed out on patrol down in the bay, and just broke out of the soup and everything about 9 o'clock down in close to Spain, and got orders to return back to base immediately. So we headed back to England and had a crosswind blowing us out to sea at 58 knots. So we wound up on the coast of Ireland there, where we had made landfall. And of course we followed it back into England there, and we knew where it was at then. And landed down at St. Ella. And after we got out, looked up under the wing of the aircraft and had rivets popped out where the wings are flexing, you know. Of course, we just missed a barrage balloon there. Tail gunner, he reported a barrage balloon we just missed when it had broken loose in England and was headed out to sea there before we hit the coast of Ireland there. But otherwise, it's not too bad.
Do you remember some of the culture you shared with some of the other enlisted men, or some of the songs from the time, or some of the things and people you would talk about while you were serving in those tours of duty?
Well, we'd always have sea stores. While operating in England, we got about every 3 months they gave us about 3 or 4 days in London. Called it temporary duty, but it was just for liberty. We'd go up there and stay for about 3 days and come back to the base. That was when the bombing was going on. Excuse me. There was a Covent Garden was a large opera house. How they made that as a dance hall at that time. Of course, there was plenty of women there. The women paid their way in, and they'd cut in on you when you were dancing out there. So it was pretty good R&R.
How often from your time in the Navy on various boats would you see other people from other countries, the enemy or or our allies?
Well, we visited these different ports with the Mediterranean. We went into Barcelona, Spain, and Naples, Italy, Genoa, Italy, Marseille, France, and Nice, Lisbon, Portugal, and Salonika, Greece, Athens, Greece, and went into Beirut, Lebanon, up there. And of course, in Japan, Yokosuka was the operating base out of that, Yokosuka, Japan. And Philippines, there was the town now was in Longport at Subic Bay. That was one place I called Shore Patrol there. I was Chief Aviation Ordnanceman. And went out on patrol there, and they picked us up about 10 o'clock and took us back down to Fleet Liner. They had a Marine helicopter carrier in there at that time. It was headed for Vietnam. And all these Marines was on Liberty. Of course, they was coming in pretty well looped up. And they was operating Liberty boats out to the bay, take them back to the ship. So it was pretty harrowing there to keep order.
I'm wondering, since you pretty much had a full career in the Navy, if you could compare for me how you saw the Navy change as you re-enlisted during the Korean War and the Cold War, and ultimately retired during the Vietnam War. We're now, gosh, almost 30 years from that point you retired. People my age often need to hear how it felt to be alive in an earlier time. I'm wondering how you look back on your career.
Well, good times and bad times. Of course, there's always thinking of home folks, relatives, friends. Now I don't know exactly how it is now. I can imagine I still read the Navy Times, keep track of what things going on. But as long as you did your job and tried to keep your nose clean, you advanced and rate, studied and kept up with things. While I was aboard the Bennington there, we had an accident on there that wasn't too good. I was a bomb elevator operator on the Bennington, from the third deck to send bombs and rockets up to the flight deck or hangar deck. And one of the boilers blew up in the engine room, in the boiler room. It was down on the next deck. And of course the steam came all up in the compartment we were in. And 11 men was killed in the boiler room there. We was operating out of Guantanamo Bay, Cuba at that time. Later on, after I was transferred off to Bennington, the man that swapped duty with me, they had another accident on there. The elevator, the catapult blew up on them. And he and 8 or 10 other shipmates that I knew well were killed in that, down in the station where I would have been if I stayed on the bed. So I'm really thankful that I got off when I did. Of course, those ships now, that's all been decommissioned, scrapped, sold, and all that stuff. Even the Ranger, it was decommissioned last year, which was the latest carrier I was on.
Would you tell me something about your connection to Oglethorpe County and your home here now?
Well, I live down in the Stevens Grove community. I'm the groundskeeper at the Stevens Grove Baptist Church. And raise a garden, hunt, more hunting than I do fishing. I have pretty good luck deer hunting.
Well, I guess I've got one final question for you. If you were speaking to an audience of younger people about the World War II era, what would you leave them with?
I would leave them with the idea that they should appreciate this country more than a lot of them do. They would only have to go to some other country to know how fortunate they are to be in this country. That's one thing that reason I joined the Navy to start with, was to help defend the country. At that time, there was a lot of war in the news, and I felt like we would get into it sooner or later. And I thought if I went on in, I would get to do the kind of things I wanted to do more than being. But I had a horror of being stationed, put in the infantry. I wanted to be in aviation, which I got to be.
Did you fly?
Yes, I was in the air crew from 19 in June of 1943 when I got in the Bombing Squadron 105 until August 8th, 1944. Held a couple of citations. I got 3 air medals and 1 Distinguished Flying Cross for the 39 missions we did in the Bay of Biscay. So happened to defeat the German submarines that had been sinking all the ships in the Atlantic.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about your career or looking back?
No, not exactly. I figure everything happened for the best. Try to be optimistic. Looking back, that's the way I look at things.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.